Hello and welcome to my channel. It's Monica from Crafting with Quilling Lady, and I hope you have absolutely gorgeous day. I thought it would be a great idea to create some slimline Christmas cards with no line coloring. So if you'd like to see this project, I really encourage you to watch this video and learn how I created it. So for my project, I'm going to use stamps from Woodware, and they're called Love the Hat, Snow Buddies, and Rudolph and Friends. I'm also going to use watercolor card from Spectrum Noir, which is 300 GSM, and a water reactive ink. Also, I'm going to use aqua pens from Spectrum Noir. These are tri-color pens. And also cutting dies from Crafter's Companion, Sparkling Snowflakes 1 and 2. And basically, that's it, what we're going to use today. So let's have a look at the first project. I'm going to use the Love the Hat stamp from Woodware, and I'm going to place it on my acrylic block. As you can see, I don't have a big enough acrylic block, so I just tilt it and it's on the diagonal line. Here I'm using water reactive ink, and this is my tip for you. If you don't have the very light color of water reactive ink, just stamp it on the side on a scrap paper a couple of times and then stamp it on your watercolor card. With this technique, if you use watercolor card, you can move the color so much easier on the card, and that actually makes this whole process so easy. Here, as you can see, I'm going to use tri-color aqua pens from Spectrum Noir. This one comes from Color Basics, and it's called Complementary. And I'm also going to use Cool Primaries. And as you can see, I'm just drawing the outline with the brush. With this technique, it is so much easier, because then you just use a wet paintbrush and paint. You just spread the color on the card. But just make sure when you use no line coloring with aqua pens, you start coloring the outlines of the shapes that don't touch. Otherwise, the colors will bleed. So as you can see here, I'm actually leaving the gaps in between the objects I'm painting, because then when these are dry, I'm going to fill it with other colors. And that's what I'm going to do at the top, as you can see. So anyway, if you have never ever used aqua markers or watercolor pens, I strongly recommend you use them. That makes our card making project so much easier and quick. And with this technique, literally no line coloring is so easy to do. You can blend the colors. If you think the color is too strong, you can just use wet paintbrush and take the color off, or you can just put damp paintbrush on a place that you think it's too dark and then use a tissue. And that's what I actually do when I make a mistake and I go over the line, which is here invisible, because when we use water reactive ink, the ink actually blends with the aqua markers and literally you just can't see the line. Here, as you can see, I'm going with the green at the bottom just to add some more color. And then when this is dry, I'm going to add some veins here. Okay, so now it's the time to stamp the face of a snowman and the pompon for the hat. And again, I'm going to stamp it on the scrap paper and then on a watercolor card. As you can see, the color is really light, but even when we just use wet paintbrush with no aqua pen, the color literally disappears, which is so amazing. Okay, so here I'm just using the light blue for the outline, because actually it's so tricky to paint white snowmen, so I just wanted a little bit of color. And instead of using grey, I thought choosing blue would be a much better option. And here I'm going to use clear sparkle pen from Spectrum Noir just to give it that little shine to the snowman. And actually, when this dries, it's just so beautiful and sparkly. Here you can see just a little bit, but when it dries completely, it's even better. Seriously, using sparkle pens, so much fun. If your sparkle pen takes too much color from Aqua pen, just use the scrub at the bottom of your card and clean the tip of your brush. Okay, now we need to stamp the nose. And I'm going to do it on the scrap paper again, to stamp it a couple of times, and then I'm going to stamp it on a watercolor card. And I'm going to use orange, because it's a carrot, so, you know, we just have to use orange for the carrot. But then what I'm going to do when this is completely dry, I'm going to cut out all the elements, and I'm going to use double-sided tape for the nose. And now, as you can see, I'm just adding a few details to the snowman hat, where everything else is dry. So now I can go and fill all those bits. Now it's the time to paint or color the bottom of the hat, and our snowman is nearly done. Now it's time to add some details to the leaves at the bottom and some berries. Here I'm using my scissors to cut out the face of the snowman and also the pompon for the hat. And as you can see, I'm just adding a few more details, which actually makes such a difference. I really like when the colors blend or you have some contrast. It makes our project just stand out even more. So for the face, I'm just going to stick it there. But before we attach all those elements, as you can see, I put a little bit of aqua pen on my glass mat, and I'm going to use ink blending tool to distress the edges, to give that something extra to the card. And here I've got just a regular card, and I'm adding the color to the sides, and that will create our beautiful frame for the card. Okay, now it's time to put everything together. I'm using liquid glue to put my front panel on this card with frame, and I'm going to wait a couple of minutes. I've got a tip for you. If you stick or adhere bigger pieces, it's always good to put something flat on it just to dry completely flat. Okay, so now I've got the card measuring 16 by 21 centimeters, and I'm going to score it at 8 centimeters, and that will create our card base for our slimline card. And now it's time to put our front panel on a card base, and we're going to attach all the elements that we already cut out, and we also need to stamp the sentiment. But I was so excited with the no-line coloring technique that I actually forgot to put the smile on a snowman. I did it just when I finished the video, but the technique is just so amazing, beautiful, easy. I just was so excited. Okay, so now I'm going to stamp the sentiment, which comes from Snow Buddies. And it says Happy Christmas, and I'm going to use StazOn ink. A tip: if your stamp doesn't really work properly, you can use a fine liner just to make sure that it's nice and thick and you can read the sentiment properly. For my next card, I'm actually going to stamp it before I attach it to the card base. And now I use Centurio Pearl card, and I die cut the snowflakes from Sparkling Snowflakes cutting die set, and I attach the double-sided tape at the back. So actually I created these snowflake stickers, and this is so easy to attach. Okay, let's go and create our second project. For this one, I'm going to use Snow Buddy stamp, and again, I don't have an acrylic block that is big enough, so I'm going to use the biggest I've got, and I'm going to put the stamp on a diagonal line. Here, I'm going to use the water reactive ink in grey colour, and I'm going to stamp it on my scrap paper first before I put it on watercolor card. And if you miss any spots, or if you think it's too dark, that's absolutely fine. We can fix it later with the pens and just add more color. For these snowmans, I thought it would be a great idea just to have some blues. And for this particular one, I used the Colour Aqua pens from Great Outdoors set. And this one is called Cool Marine, where you have teal, aquamarine, and light blue. And I have to say that these colors, oh my gosh, these blues, I think these are my totally favorite from all aqua markers. So beautiful, and you can dilute them with water, and they are so versatile. So my snowman will be all blue, but come on, we can create any snowman we want, right? So, as you can see, I did the outlines for all the snowman faces, and I'm using wet paintbrush, or I would rather say damp, not wet. Just don't use too much water, otherwise all the color will disappear. And now it's time to add some detail on the top snowman and its beautiful hat. And again, as before, I'm painting the colors. I'm painting the objects that are separate. I just don't want the colors to bleed. So I have to wait for all the small elements to dry if I want to add color next to it. And that technique works really nicely. And actually with this watercolor card and aqua pens, the color dries really quickly, so you don't have to worry. I'm so happy that you're staying with me for the entire video. I know it is a little bit long, but I absolutely enjoyed myself working on these Christmas Slimline cards, and I really hope you like them too. If you created any slimline cards, I would absolutely love to see your projects. So please leave the comment down below. It would really make my day. And anyway, I've got a question for you. Do you sometimes listen to music when you craft? Because for this project, I wasn't really in that Christmas mood yet. So I thought, why not listen to some Christmas songs? And I just couldn't stop singing when I was creating these cards. It was just so funny. But anyway, going back to our project. As you can see, I was just using this sparkle pen from Spectrum Noir just to add a little bit of shine and shimmer on our snowman, and this looks absolutely amazing. At least that's what I think. If you have different opinion, that's absolutely fine. I don't mind. Okay, so here again I put some lake blue on my glass mat, and I'm using my ink blending tool just to put the color around all the snowmen. And again, I'm going to stamp the big stamp again, because I'm going to fussy cut all those snowman noses. So you actually don't have to stamp entire picture. Just make sure the noses would stamp on a card. Okay, and now as you can see, I'm using black fine liner, and I'm adding the eyes and all those beautiful smiles on these snowmen. I also added some details on one of the snowman's hats, and oh my gosh, I've got these stamps for a very long time and I still love them. This year I actually made myself a challenge. I thought to myself, I'm not going to buy any Christmas stamps or cutting dies for this season. I've got so many supplies at home. I'm just going to use all of them this year. I'm not going to buy any. And if I really like something new, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait when everything goes on a discount, and then I'm going to buy the stamps and cutting dies that I really want. And I have to say that I'm still sticking to my challenge, and I think it's great. I love it because I rediscovered so many beautiful stamps and cutting dies from my stash that I haven't visited in years, and that made me so happy. Okay, anyway, as you can see, I created the frame on the card using the blue color, and I stamped the sentiment using stays on ink. This time I did it before putting it on the card base, and I didn't have to use a fine liner. And again, I'm using my snowflake stickers I created from Centurio Pearl, and it works amazingly. Okay, now it's time for project number 3. This time I'm going to use the Rudolph stamp, which is called Rudolph and Friends. And this one to color in was just so easy. You basically need like 2 or 3 colors, and that's it. So easy, so nice, and the effect is stunning. Okay, so let's go and do some coloring. As you can see, I'm starting with the brown color first, and I'm just doing the outline very gently. And then using damp paintbrush, the color spreads so beautifully on a watercolor card. And if you create any no line coloring cards, I really suggest very thick watercolor card. This one, which comes from Spectrum Noir, is 300 GSM, and it works beautifully for this project. Okay, as you can see, I just moved the red color on Rudolph's nose using sparkle pen. And now let's go back and do those beautiful birds. I love robins, and I just wish there were more outside because they are so beautiful birds. Okay, but at least I can have some of them on my cards, and that makes me happy. So when you work on these beautiful birds, as you can see, I just did the outlines, and then I moved the color using wet paintbrush or sparkle pen. And this sparkle pen has so much sparkle in it. Seriously, it does. And when it dries, the sparkle is absolutely amazing. I love it. And I also wanted to say, if you make a mistake with these aqua pens, they are just so easy to fix. You just use a wet paintbrush with no color to put it where you made a mistake, and use a tissue, and job is done. Okay, time for ears, and then we need to add some beaks on our beautiful robins. Add a little bit of black details using fine liner. We also have to add eyes on our Rudolph, and our cut is nearly done. As you can see here, I'm putting the dark brown on white card just to create a frame. And I also going to distress the edges using all the colors I use for the reindeer. If you make a mistake here, that's absolutely fine. I think I just use a little bit too much of the color on some of the places here, but that's fine. We're going to cover it with our snowflake stickers. Okay, and now I had to add the rope for the robins, and that worked beautifully. It's time for a sentiment using stays on ink, which is really black and bold, and I love it. Okay, and now we have to attach it to our frame and the card base, which we are going to create from just card. Score it at 8 centimeters, and our third card is done. Nearly. Okay, we just need these beautiful snowflake stickers using beautiful Centurio Pearl card. And yes, we are done. I really would like to know which project is your favorite. Do you prefer the Snowman version or the Rudolph version? Please let me know down below in the comment. And also, I would really like to know how many Christmas cards have you made this year? And do you give them to your friends or family, or do you give them to your neighbors as well? Okay, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have absolutely amazing day. Create beautiful things, share them, and happy crafting. Bye!